Good evening. My name is Erin Cleve, President of the Lambda chapter of Sigma Theta Tau International. And I want to welcome you to the Fall 2022 Induction Ceremony. Thank you for celebrating this special occasion with us. I would like to take a moment to introduce our chapter leaders who are here with us virtually tonight. President-elect Laura Schwartz, Vice President Allison Krinsky, Treasurer Brett Anderson, Secretary Abigail Simek, Faculty Counselor Elizabeth Coleman, and Governance Chair Chris Tuft. Tonight's guest speaker is Julie Sanger. She is a nurse administrator at Mayo Clinic Health System in the Southwest Minnesota region. Among her many accomplishments, she is a recent Daisy Award for Nurse Leader nominee and will be providing us insight on what it takes to be a great leader. Let's begin our induction. For more than 90 years, Sigma has been recognizing and celebrating excellence in scholarship, leadership, and service within nursing and midwifery. The Honor Society, today known as Sigma, was founded as Sigma Theta Tau in 1922 by 6 nursing students at Indiana University. From those 6 founding members, our organization has grown to more than 135,000 active members in more than 560 chapters in over 100 countries around the world. Sigma also collaborates with several global organizations to improve the health of the world's people, including representation at the United Nations. This offers members the opportunity to extend their reach outside of their own communities. We are excited and filled with pride to welcome our new inductees here today into our diverse and global membership. Sigma members are leaders at all levels of healthcare industry. The Society only extends membership to students in baccalaureate or graduate level programs who have demonstrated superior academic achievement, academic integrity, and professional leadership potential, and to nurse leader candidates exhibiting exceptional achievements in nursing. Our membership includes top-notch nursing executives, clinicians, educators, researchers, policymakers, entrepreneurs, and others. You are among this distinguished group of nurses, students, and professionals who have met or exceeded the rigorous standards required to receive an invitation to join Sigma, and you truly deserve our congratulations. The leadership and scholarship that you have displayed represent the essence of the society. Together, we are Sigma. Our founders chose the Greek letters Sigma, Theta, and Tau, taken from the Greek words meaning love, courage, and honor, as they believe them to be the enduring values that are the root of the nursing profession. Our crest, which adorns your membership certificate, symbolizes these enduring values, reminding us our commitments to wisdom and discernment as represented by the eye, service and professional endeavor, and strength of leadership as represented by the pillars of stone at the right and left, and knowledge as represented by the lamp. Our key embedded in the membership pin reminds us of our charge to uphold love, courage, and honor, and is a symbol of scholarship. The cup denotes the satisfaction of our professional life. The circle, with its 6 stars, represents our 6 founders, and the lamp is the lamp of knowledge. The letters in black represent our charge. Remember that our key symbolizes your commitment to nursing excellence. The purpose of this ceremony is not only to honor you as a new member and celebrate your successes, but it also serves as our pledge to you, to support you through your nursing career and to be a lifelong resource for you. This support will come in part through the opportunity to participate in Sigma's communities of interest, mentoring programs, and academics. You will also have access to benefits such as nursing continuing professional development courses, the Journal of Nursing Scholarship, worldviews on evidence-based nursing, and nursing centered. Your induction is not the end, the accumulation of your scholarly or professional achievements. Instead, your induction signifies the beginning of your membership journey, the start of your involvement within a global network of peers and mentors who are here to guide and support you wherever your nursing career may take you. At this time, we will receive into membership these outstanding new members. Now, this will look differently as everyone is at home, but I would like our inductees to please stand. Please accept the privileges and responsibilities of Sigma membership by repeating after me. I accept membership in Sigma Theta Tau International and pledge to fulfill its commitments to nursing excellence, knowledge, service, and leadership throughout my career. Inductees, please be seated. Officers and chapter members, please join me in welcoming our newest inductees. Tonight's inductees are Elizabeth Anderson, Rebecca Boynton, Amanda Cantley, Dr. Cara De La Fosse, Aries Diaz, Sarah Damka, Fatma F., Sarah Harthan, Sean Hardigan, Grace Haug, Debo Hisan, Haley Johnson, Miriam Ladd, Melissa Nuanez, Brooke Plantage, Peyton Poulos, Haley Simonson, Cameron Steinberg, Mallory Steinmetz, and Janet Zenner. And I apologize for any misspoken last names. Again, congratulations to everyone and welcome to our Mu Lambda chapter of Sigma. Now that you are official members of Sigma, the opportunities to become involved, to grow and develop as leaders, and to contribute to the nursing profession are virtually endless. Personally, I have enjoyed being actively involved by taking on chapter offices, attending conferences both virtually and in person, as well as utilize the CEUs and educational webinars that are free to meet on Sigma's website. Each of you will experience membership in your own way. In fact, Sigma membership is an experience that is yours to design. I hope you will make use of the many opportunities that membership has to offer. Not only do you have the opportunity to be involved locally, but there are opportunities to participate in this global organization on a regional and international level as well.
All right. I would like to introduce our guest speaker for tonight's induction, Julie Sanger. Julie is a nurse administrator for the Department of Nursing at Mayo Clinic Health System in the Southwest Minnesota region. She supports the regional inpatient and outpatient obstetrics, special care nursery, and pediatrics departments, as well as case management, utilization review, and the social work departments. She earned her associate's degree from Rochester Community College, her BSN from Winona State University, and then returned to Winona State University to complete her master's in nursing with a focus in nursing and organizational leadership. She is a silver level certified Mayo Clinic Quality Fellow, and she's working towards her gold level certification. And she's also been awarded the Passion for Practice Award, the RN Individual Achievement Award, and is a Daisy Nurse Leader Award nominee. She's also received multiple awards as a nurse leader in the ambulatory setting for quality and patient experience. So Julie, thank you for joining us. I'm so excited for you to share your wealth of knowledge around leadership with us.
Thanks, Erin, for that great introduction. I'm privileged to be able to speak to such a great group of people today. I want to congratulate you on being inductees tonight. When you're joining the Sigma Theta Tau Mu Lambda chapter. You should be very proud of this accomplishment. I'd also like to congratulate the parents and significant others of the inductees. The students would not be able to do this or get to this point without your support. So Erin and I wanted this presentation to be more interactive, not just standing up and giving a presentation. So we got together to come up with some questions about leadership. So Erin, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, thanks, Julie. How, in your own words, would you define successful leadership?
I think that was a great question that we came up with. Successful leadership to me is measured by how how high performing and resilient the team is. I feel like I'm a successful leader if my team is not afraid to speak up. I recently listened to a speaker who was doing research on leaders and their teams. She said that most leaders feel that their teams will speak up, but in reality, a high percentage of teams won't speak up. As a leader, you need to understand that your label can make you intimidating. So as a leader, you sometimes forget how scary you really are and what signals you send out. My day-to-day conversations can have life-defining consequences on ourselves and those around us. So it's important for me to be able to listen and understand when staff are willing to speak up. Their voice is a great way to harness their ideas and intelligence that could be the solution that you're looking for. So that's one way that I would define a successful leadership. I know Aaron mentioned that I had quite a few awards that I received in primary care related to the metrics that we were able to accomplish as a team. And I want to just say that was a result of a high functioning nursing team that didn't have a lot on me. It was the nurses that kind of took that on. I gave them the why they needed to do that. And I think that's very important as leaders to not just give your team a directive, but to help them understand the reasoning why there's that directive. And the team really just took it from there. They wanted to put the needs of the patients first, and they wanted to offer the best care for our patients. The other key too is what the team was involved in designing the workflow or the process of how they wanted to accomplish the task. So their task was to identify our diabetic patients and to help our diabetic patients get their A1C below 8. So that was one of the metrics that we were measuring. And the team did a great job trying to determine how they wanted to achieve that. And the end result was that several of our patients were able to meet that A1C below 8 and have a better care for themselves.
So what leadership qualities do you feel impact team performance?
I think there's a lot of qualities. I'm just going to start out with, I feel my leadership style is a cross between authentic leadership and transformational leadership. For me, as a leader, I need to have a sense of purpose. I have a passion for the nursing profession. I care about how the nurses are feeling, and especially during COVID and post-COVID. I ask my team frequently what their concerns are and ask how the leaders can help. I try to explain the vision of the organization and solicit their ideas on how we can make Mayo Clinic Health System a better place for our employees and patients. Employees can sense when leaders are passionate about their work, and they're more willing to speak up if they see that in the behavior of the leader. So I think that can really enhance your team performance. As a leader, I think you also need to have some distinct values. You're a successful leader if your values align with the values of the organization you work for. So just something to keep in mind when you're picking an employer. If your values align, you're going to be a much stronger employee. I personally have set my values, personal values, very high. My values didn't develop overnight, but they've been developing for years. I expect high integrity from myself. If someone confides in me about a situation or a concern, I only discuss the issue or concern with those involved or the proper channels to fix those concerns. And employees who see leaders with high values and respect for them will value their leadership, which can also help with your team performance. I also believe that relationship building is key to being a successful leader and to having a high functioning team. A good example I can give you is when I was asked to set up Mayo Clinic's first drive-through COVID clinic in Rochester. I was literally called, sitting at my desk, I was called at 10 a.m. and asked if I could meet senior leaders at our Northwest clinic location at 11. So I said, of course, sure. Yeah, let's just see what's going on here, right? Several senior leaders arrived and looked at me and said, how do you think we should set up the COVID drive-through? And I kind of looked back at them and, this was just right at the beginning of COVID. This was before all the shutdown. They said, we need to start seeing patients today because the patients were coming into our ED in Rochester, and it was causing a lot of census in our ED, and they wanted to offload those patients so they could continue working as a normal ED. So thankfully, during that 1 hour time frame, I did what every great leader does. I went to Google and I asked Google, hey, what does a medical drive-through look like? And the Japanese had already set one up in Japan, and there were several other areas that had actually set up drive-through lab clinics. And so I was able to look at the pictures, making a list of what resources I needed. So by the time I got asked that question by the senior leaders, I had an idea of what we maybe needed. But all to say, because I had built prior relationships with others in the organization, I could quickly call upon them to get the medical equipment, lab, specimens, the personal protective supplies, because again, this was a COVID drive-through. We needed to get the tent. The very first day when we had patients drive up to our location, we didn't actually have a physical tent up. We'd actually parked my vehicle and another expedition on the outside of the building and had the patients drive through between the building and our vehicles so that patients from the road couldn't see what was going on. And then by the next day we had a tent put up. So I just, it was just amazing how we were able to set up this clinic, this drive-through COVID tent, and do it in a short amount of time. But again, it goes back to those, all of those resources that you have and those relationships of those people that own those resources. So but then as we got going, I realized that we also needed employees, right, to be sustainable, to keep this open for 12 hours. And as a leader, I needed to understand how these employees felt. Like I said, this was prior to all of the shutdown. People didn't really understand what was happening with COVID, but I needed to let them know that I wouldn't let anything happen to them. I actually had an NES come out and do some education about what we knew so far about COVID and how to do these nasopharyngeal swabs and how the nurses could best protect themselves. And so, but I needed the employees to feel safe to speak up because this was kind of unprecedented times. So just the other day, I got a call from one of the employees that was helping me, and this happened over 2 years ago. And the nurse that called, he just said how grateful he was that as leaders, we listened to the staff and let them make changes that impacted their workflow. So like I said, none of us had ever designed this type of process before. And so we really were driving the ship, as they say, as we were building it. And so we really did need the input from the nurses because they were the ones out there kind of running the line, trying to streamline the process. And it was a great project to be involved in. And I'm just very grateful that these nurses were willing to speak up and let us learn from them as much as they were learning from us. So that's the other piece too, is you just need to be able to figure out how to motivate your employees to work towards a common goal. And our goal was to get as many patients swabbed in a day, so we didn't have long lines. I mean, I think some of our wait times probably were 30 to 40 minutes, but our goal was to get them through and keep the nurses safe, keep the patients safe. And so just to have that passion and the vision to make that happen, and then just to rely on all of those people that you know, and just to listen to the nurses, I think that might be a really good example of a great team performance.
Yeah, thank you, Julie. I've gotten to firsthand witness Julie in action. I followed her the other day, and she really does listen to the staff. She rounds on the units, even the ones that she does not cover in her nurse administrator role. She rounds on those that are on site and genuinely wants to help them. And I think I got to see the appreciation from the staff, even when you weren't able to physically help them, just to be that ear to listen to, and to know that the leadership really does have the backs of the department, has really shown to be one of my favorite traits of yours, Julie. Which leads me into my next question. What traits do you need to impact team performance?
So if you think about your boss or your instructor, how they make you feel, right? If an instructor is genuinely interested in you and shows compassion towards you, then you'll perform better in class, correct? I think for most of us, if we know somebody is kind of investing some time in us, then we'll do better. We'll try to do the best we can. That translates to leadership as well. If I know the nurses and the frontline leaders personally, they will feel supported, kind of like what you were saying, Erin, and more apt to solve problems or issues that affect them every day by speaking up. So we were down in the ED, Aaron and I were, and the ED nurses were asking some questions about a patient who was being admitted. And I was pretty proud of them. There was quite a few of them standing around and speaking up with their concerns about all the behavioral patients that we have that don't medically need to be in the ED, but there's really no other place to put them. And this has been a long-standing issue for the last couple of years. And so we did bring this forward to our legislative partners in the cities to help us try to navigate. But that's what I was trying to say to the nurses is, we understand, we've listened, we've heard that this is a problem, and we know that you're in the thick of it, but it's a difficult problem to solve, and we can't solve it overnight, but we want to be advocates for our patients as well, because that's not the best place for them to be, is in our ED setting. So I think just, you know, knowing your nurses, knowing your nurse leaders, so you can be able to support them better. And I think to have some active listening skills is another trait. You need to be fully present in the conversation, show interest, and ask open-ended questions. You know, people can see right through when you're really not fully present for that conversation. So I think that's very important, to not be distracted by other things that might be going on. So, and not only do leaders need to be intellectually intelligent, and just to kind of put a little caveat to that, what I was thinking when I was about that is, you know, you may not know the ins and out of the role. You might not know what form you need to push for this, or how to write a FTE request. I mean, those kinds of skills will come, but leaders need to be emotionally intelligent. You need to have the ability to perceive, interpret, evaluate, and use emotion to communicate or relate to others. And I'm sure many of you have heard of emotional intelligence. However, it's not just listening and communicating to others, but also you have to understand your own self, and how, when somebody says something, how are you going to react, and just to do an emotional check on your own self. Because sometimes people just want to offload too. And then you've got to try to weed through it to see what really is the ultimate concern or issue. And sometimes that's not always easy to do. You also need, as a leader, to let go of mistakes, right? We all make mistakes. We learn from mistakes. I've made plenty of mistakes. I could tell you that. I started as a nurse manager when I was 28. I didn't have any children at the time. And I didn't quite understand how hard it was to be a working mom and have children and to get to work on time. And especially when you're a single mom. So I really did not have a lot of empathy, at least looking back, for those mothers. And now I have a total different approach. You know, how can we help you? What do you need as an employer? What do you need from us to help you with your situation? So I kind of take it from a whole different stance than I did when I was 28. So you'll learn from your mistakes, but you'll also grow from your mistakes. And you can't blame the team if the decision that you made failed. You have to take some ownership into it, right? And and if the team fails, you still have to be supportive of them and say, okay, we failed at this. How are we going to pick ourselves up, and what can we do better? Let's course correct, and let's make the changes and move forward, and we'll be a better, stronger team because of that. Let's see.
Failure is important, right? Like,
what's that? Yeah, failure is important.
I mean, when you think of your team, but that also goes back to you building your team up and building those trust relationships, and being able to understand that you want people to be able to bring those ideas forward, because 28 ideas might be thrown out and 1 or 2 of them will actually stick. And some of them might be great, but you're going to fail, and you're going to amend and come back as a team and figure out, like, does this whole thing need to be scrapped, or do we need to, just change here and there? And I think that really comes from a great team and trust that you guys are building. I know you want to credit the whole team, but I think a lot of it has to be by role modeling that as well. As the leader, you have to be role modeling all of these qualities that you want to see in your team, and your team is able to kind of see that being role modeled and want to emulate it. And I think you do a very great job of that.
Oh, thank you, Erin. We try to encourage our teams too. I think another trait of a good leader is to have an open-mindedness. So as a leader, sometimes you want to just solve the problem. You want to get it done quickly. You need to be receptive to others' ideas, arguments, and just other information. And you kind of need to be curious about what others think. If you're not open to others' thoughts, the process that are in place could be incorrect. You might think you have the right answer, and you may never get to that efficient workflow or that efficient process that could make everything easier. And the frontline staff, you know, they work with that process every day, and so they're kind of the best ones to understand what maybe how to course correct it or how to even make it better. And so just to have that open mind of your answer might not always be the right answer.
Thanks, Julie. One thing I want to chat about is the Daisy nomination that you received. It's a new award that we brought to Southwest Minnesota through Mayo Clinic, and quarterly, and a nurse leader is nominated, and Julie was nominated, one of the first leaders to be nominated. And why do you think that was? Why do you think you received that nomination for the Daisy Leader Award?
I think the reason that I was nominated for the Daisy Leader Award is probably a little bit of what you alluded to when we went down to the ED. I have a passion for the nurses who are at the front line. I have a passion for our nurse leaders. It's a very, very difficult job to be that middle management. And I've learned to try to listen with empathy and compassion over the years. And I believe I'm very authentic. What you see is what you get. I am not without my flaws, but I try to do my job without compromising my values. And part of that's just built into my personality. I'm not one to get super overexcited, which does help because I don't tend to react to maybe things. If the house is burning down, I wouldn't probably react like you might think I would. I've always my personality's always been kind of calm, cool, and collected, which can be good or bad. Just saying, it's not always a good thing. So I feel like through the last 2 years going through COVID, we've had a lot of challenges on the inpatient side with high census, high COVID patients volumes, a high number of employees getting sick, and just some turnover of nurses who either are resigning or they're going to the outpatient setting because of the hours or just the amount of work that was with these COVID patients and the isolation, the donning and doffing of PPE. So I try to just support them as best I can. So that I believe the nomination came from Dawn, one of our house supervisors. And the house supervisors are on 24/7. So they're responsible for the day-to-day oversight of the whole hospital. They have a lot of responsibility and need to be able to make decisions about operations when leadership's not present. So like I said, they're here, on the weekends, they're here all night long. We have an excellent group of house supervisors right now. They have a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge, and they really truly know this place inside and out. And I just wanted to build them up because they are so good at what they do. I like to go down and routinely listen to their concerns because I know that they hear from the frontline nurses, they hear from the nurse managers. I mean, they're kind of our eyes and ears out there. They're talking to everybody. They hit every floor. They hit every discipline just because they're so present. So I just like to help problem solve with them and help them navigate making changes. And if there's a change we can't really make, I help to them understand why we can't make it. But then I also take that back and say, okay, well, maybe we can't change it now, but I'm going to keep my eyes and ears open to say, if something happens, maybe I can insert that and say, well, we've had this issue for a while. Can we look at changing this process? So for instance, it's probably a small, minute process change, but for all visitor exceptions, they went to our vice chair and our medical director. And then as nurse administrators, we got involved too. We kind of have to vet out those visitor exceptions. But we had very strict criteria as to when we would allow visitors in, especially for COVID positive patients. And so I just was trying to help our upper leadership to navigate why why can't we have our house supervisors take that on? I mean, they're already getting the calls. They're already telling us whether we should allow these visitor exceptions or not. They know the policy and they know the rules. And it didn't take but a couple months for that change to move over from our vice chairs and our medical directors to stop making those decisions and let the house supervisors make that. And they felt better because they really felt bad when they had to call at 2 a.m. because there was a patient maybe had eminently was dying and the family wanted to come in and see them. And that wasn't a visitor exception that we would make for a COVID positive patient. But they felt bad about calling people at 2 a.m. to see if it could be approved. And so that was a good change by just listening to them that we could make and allowing them to have that autonomy as a house supervisor. And I trust their decisions. Like I said, they have been around for a long time and they are very good at what they do. And, their goal is to make this organization better too.
Thank you, Julie. I think that was it for our questions, but is there anything else that you would like to add at all?
No, maybe just some advice for inductees on how to be a good leader and a follower. You can go out to YouTube, you can go to TED Talks. There's going to be several tips that you can be given to be a good leader. A few that I just wanted to give you is one, act like a leader before you become one. Take on small leadership responsibilities as they arise and try to do them well. A big thing that I look for is you show that you care about the success of the organization and the staff more than yourself. I think that seems kind of simple, but sometimes you get into the day-to-day grind and you kind of forget, maybe you get frustrated with something, and then maybe you tell another person that you're frustrated with something. But what we're really looking for is if you get frustrated, we want you to take that initiative or to take that next step to say, this is a frustration for me, but I feel like if we could make this change, this is how we could improve that frustration. Because guaranteed, if that frustration is, if you have that frustration, there's probably 10 other people that have that frustration. So just take that next step and say, but I think we could improve this by X, Y, or Z. Like if you could come up with those on your own. And then just, take it upon yourself to just get into some classes for growth and development. There's several, like I said, there's a lot of TED Talks online. There's just some leadership classes that you can take, probably even through the school. There's some. I know most employers have opportunities for you to take classes just to get to that next level of leadership. And like I had said, even for a good leader, to be an active listener by asking open-ended questions and showing a genuine interest in your colleagues. Learn good time management and organizational skills. I can't say I've mastered this yet, but I try all day long to have good management skills. It can be difficult when you got a lot of competing priorities. Just if you can just work on that slowly so it doesn't become so hard when you become a leader, because like Aaron said, I have several different departments. I probably have 5 different departments. And so they all have their own competing priorities, but the better you can be at time management, the more successful you'll be. And then as you become a leader, help your direct reports grow. So you can start now by helping your fellow colleagues grow, right? To be supportive of them, encourage them, coach them whenever you can. So those things are kind of important. And then as a leader, it's also important that you know how to follow. So I think you probably have talked about that in some of your classes about fellowship. So then there's times when you're asked to help with a project that you're not leading. You're still considered a leader within the organization, but now you have to be a follower to help get this project off the ground. A leader can't accomplish the task alone, and they'll need help creating ideas, generating energy, and implementing a process or change. And some of those skills that you have as a leader will help you also be a follower, but it's just very important to note that is a big component of being a leader. So hopefully those little pieces of advice will help you grow into your next role as potential leaders within the nursing profession.
Thank you so much, Julie. I know I took some messages away as well, so appreciate those. And congratulations again to our inductees of the chapter.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Each biennium, Sigma installs a new president at the international level. At the 46th Biennial Convention, we proudly installed Ken Dion and introduced him as the 34th Sigma president. Each president presents a call to action to help guide members and chapters as we strive to fulfill our mission. Going forward, this will be an organizational call to action with influence from the board of directors. The organizational call to action asks us to be bold. As a profession, we have a habit of talking among ourselves. We attend nursing conferences, we publish in nursing journals, and we often remain in silos within the organizations where we are employed. This status quo cannot remain. If nothing else, the past 2 years have shown us how events outside of the nursing force change within it. Consider COVID-19 a wake-up call. The future is coming and it will profoundly affect nursing education, research, healthcare systems, and ultimately models of care. Our profession must step outside its insular circle. We must actively collaborate with disciplines outside nursing and healthcare to influence decisions about our profession, populations, and the planet in 3 critical domains: economics, technology, and conservation. As we move forward in a post-pandemic world, it remains our duty as a profession to advocate to abolish inequalities within societies, healthcare systems, and even within our profession. Advocacy has always been central to nursing, but how do we focus on advocacy for the future? Taking stock in our past, the present, and potential futures can help us determine how to do that. Economics is the science of decision-making, and it's all about power. Fluency in the language of economics and power can better influence decision makers to recognize and utilize the value of nursing profession. We interact with technology daily in our personal and professional lives. Therefore, we must be able to converse in a strategic manner with stakeholders developing the technologies, as well as those involved in purchasing and implementing them within our organizations. To do so, we must be fluent in the language of technology. Conservation is not just about the planet, although that is a part of it. It is an economic way of thinking. Many economies around the globe are based on consumption. If their populations are not consuming more, their economies will not grow. And if their economies do not grow, they will suffer economic collapse. Sadly, these models are not sustainable. If we raise the collective voice of nursing to influence and inspire the populations who trust us, our leaders will be challenged to embrace a future different from the one we are headed toward. Nurses can lead the way in 3 areas: education, research, and model of care. I would encourage you to learn more and participate by fulfilling the organizational call to action by visiting Sigma's website, sigmanursing.org. As we conclude our ceremony, I want to take a moment to recognize and thank the friends and families who are here to celebrate this special occasion with us. It is because of your love and support that these new members were able to reach this level of success, and you should take pride in your role that you have played. Once again, I want to congratulate and welcome our newest Sigma members.